Her name was the Witch, a Salem clipper in the China tea trade. She put into San Francisco that morning of October 18, 1852, with ensign flying an international signal of distress. It was the beginning of a case which would eventually change maritime laws relating to seamen on all American ships.
What's happening, Matt?
Mutiny on board the Witch. Captain Farragut asked us to keep order on the docks.
Detail, attention! For the ride, quick step, march!
What's going to happen to them, sir? Those men will be tried in Admiralty Court. If found guilty, they'll hang. Naval prisoners and others subject to maritime punishment were at that time confined to the hulks of abandoned vessels lying in San Francisco Harbor. The mutineers from the Witch were held in one of these hulks. Things are really boiling down the Barbary Coast. There's a lot of sympathy for the men off the Witch.
Yeah, seems to be a lot of sympathy all over town. Half of the people think that the ship's officers were real heroes, and the rest think that the crew should have chucked them on overboard.
I'm glad it's the Navy's job, not mine. There'll be a riot if people get stirred up enough.
Marshal Wayne?
Yes.
Well, I'm Evan Stone, master of the Witch. One of my officers is missing.
Did you report it to my office?
No, under the circumstances, I thought it best to come to you first. See, Mr. Coffin is not exactly popular in some quarters since he brought in the Witch.
Since he brought in the Witch?
Oh, Captain Stone, I'd like you to meet Mr. Jeremy Pitt. Mr. Pitt is a pretty fair country lawyer.
Captain, glad to meet you. I'm sorry I interrupted. Please go ahead.
Well, if it weren't for Mr. Coffin, sir, none of us who berth aft would be alive today. You see, he pretended sympathy with the mutineers, persuaded them to let him navigate the ship. Then he set a course for this port. Now, the crew feels that he betrayed them, and, well, they've been making threats.
You mean the crew might have killed the officers if Coffin hadn't pretended to go along with them?
That's right, sir.
Well, I don't think you have to worry, Captain. The Navy has the mutineers confined.
Well, I know, but they've got friends, and, well, feeling's risen pretty high.
In that case, why did you give Coffin shore leave?
Oh, I didn't. Well, I couldn't hold him on the ship. Now, I think he's got a woman friend ashore. Name of Rose Kerrigan. He may have gone to see her.
Why don't you try to find her?
I've got my first and second officers out looking for him right now. This girl is from the Barbary Coast, and, well, my men are not as familiar with that as you are.
All right, Captain, I'll have a look on the Barbary Coast, see if I can find your man.
Thank you, sir. You know, I'd dislike seeing anything happen to Mr. Coffin. He's a credit to the finest traditions of the Merchant Navy. Good night, Jim.
Good night, Captain.
Hey, Matt, you think Coffin's in trouble?
I think he's probably drunk somewhere, trying to forget the 14 men and 2 boys that he turned over to the hangman.
Say, you aren't in sympathy with the mutineers, are you?
You saw those men when they came off that ship. They look more sinned against than sinners.
Yeah, but that's a case for the federal government to investigate.
Well, I better try to find Mr. Coffin before somebody sticks a knife in his ribs.
20 pretty waiter girls, count them. 20 pretty waiter girls, and all the grog you can drink. All the fun on the coast down at Cindy Jack. Here you are, mates, right down here in the corner.
I got to have a plan, Rosie. I got to talk to someone who knows something, but I don't know who to talk to.
Maybe you're just imagining things.
I ain't imagining nothing. They're out to do me in.
Hello, Coffin. I've been looking for you. Skipper's worried about you. Want you back at the ship.
Tell Eben Stone I'm through with him and his stinking ship.
Skipper's orders, matey. I'm taking you back.
You're taking me nowhere, Mr. Cross. Move one step and I'll open you!
All right, all right. Put the knife away. What's the trouble here?
No trouble, sir. I was urging Mr. Coffin to return to his ship.
You're Mr. Coffin off the Witch? I'm looking for you.
He ain't done nothing, Marshal.
According to his skipper, he jumped ship.
That's a lie. I was paid off.
How about that, mister?
I don't know about that, sir. I was sent by the skipper to bring him back.
All right. I'll take care of him.
But that's my
Good night,
business.
mister.
But I'm
Good night. Let's go.
You can't take him, Marshal. He ain't done nothing, I tell you.
It's all right, Rosie.
You say you were paid off? Let's see your papers. Why did Captain Stone say you jumped ship?
He wants to get me back, that's why.
Why?
What? That ain't nothing to concern you, Marshal.
Well, you better stay off the street. Captain Stone seems to think that you're in danger.
You mean I can go?
You haven't committed any crime.
Who's a good lawyer in town?
Well, a lot of good ones.
I need one that can do miracles.
Offhand, I'd recommend a man named Jeremy Pitt.
Jeremy Pitt, where can I find him?
He rooms on Montgomery Street.
Mr. Pitt?
If this is a holdup, then you've picked on a struggling lawyer, and they never have any money.
It isn't a holdup, sir. I have to see you.
Well, then you must be a client. And I hope you have some money. Come in. You picked a strange hour to find a lawyer, Mr. I didn't get your name.
Names ain't important, sir.
All right, as you say. Now, what's the problem?
I want to hire you to defend some people.
What people?
The men off the witch, sir.
They'll be tried in Admiralty Court. It's a case for a lawyer who knows marine law.
They tell me you fight for your cases, Mr. Pitt. That's what they need. Someone who'll fight and try to get them off as easy as possible.
Tell me, is there any doubt of their guilt? In other words, you're giving me an impossible case. Here, let me put it to you, sir. Now, of all that crew, I might obtain leniency for the boys because of their youth. Now, half of the men, those least involved in the mutiny, well, they'll get off with long prison terms, and the rest will indubitably hang from one of Captain Farragut's yardarms. Unless there's some bit of evidence as yet undisclosed. Do you know of any such evidence, Mr. Coffin?
How did you know?
Oh, your identity, Mr. Coffin? A lawyer quickly learns to detect an uneasy conscience. Your conscience brought you here. A sense of guilt for delivering those men to certain death.
I done my duty.
Oh, of course, I know, and now you regret it. Why?
Don't ask me no more, Mr. Pitt. There's money, sir. $1,000 in gold. Take it, use it. But don't ask me no more questions. I can't give answers.
Mr. Coffin, come back! detained me over a week ago. He laid down 1,000 in gold, walked out, and disappeared.
What do you want me to do about it?
Find Coffin.
It's not my job. That's a federal matter.
I can't get them to move on it. You know they don't have enough people to handle the investigations.
That's out of my jurisdiction. You know that. Why is Coffin so important to you?
He's the only witness I've got.
Witness?
Tell you what you do. Take a trip with me down to the prison hulks, and you'll see what I mean.
All right. But Mr. Pitt, just to keep things legal, don't you think we ought to get a permit from the Navy?
All right, come on, let's get it.
Captain Farragut's office issued us passes to see the prisoners.
Mr. Cross ordered Samuels to the gratings and beat him with the rope's end. And after Samuels fainted, Mr. Cross kept on beating him. And 2 days later, Samuels died, and we buried him at sea.
Well, what did Captain Stone do during this beating?
He stood on the quarterdeck and watched.
You mean he approved?
He didn't stop us, sir.
He didn't do nothing when Mr. Sorby, the second mate, kicked me and broke me hip.
Well, did you get any treatment?
Captain put some oil and rags on my leg and turned me to galley duty.
What about your eyes, Polk?
Mr. Cross ordered me aloft to reef the forestunsail. I slipped and fell. He called me a clumsy dog and began beating me on the head with a belaying pin. When I come to my senses, sir, my lights were gone.
Is that when you decided to take the ship?
No, sir. We went to Mr. Coffin first.
The third mate.
Aye. Mr. Coffin was a decent officer. He did all he could to stop Mr. Cross and Mr. Sorby from doing all they did.
Oh, I see. What did Mr. Coffin tell you?
He told us to take the ship, sir. He said he'd navigate us to landfall and stay with us, whatever happened. We were desperate, sir. We stood all that flesh and blood could bear. If we're mutineers, like they say, we was driven to it.
Can you help us, sir?
If there's anything I can do, I will. The plight of the 16 men and the simple honesty of their stories made us decide to see Captain Farragut himself about their case.
This is all very irregular. Are you intervening in an official capacity, Mr. Wayne?
No, Captain Farragut. I'm here at the request of Mr. Pitt. I wish I could intervene, but I realize local authority has no right to.
Good. I'd be obliged to take vigorous action against any interference in a federal matter. And as for you, sir, I'm afraid your undertaking is hopeless.
I refuse to consider any case hopeless.
The word of any ship's officer will be sufficient to convict your clients.
Any ship's officer? Against the sworn testimony of 14 men and 2 boys?
Admiralty Court, sir, do not accept the oaths of foremost hands.
But they're men, sir. They have rights under the law.
Not under sea law, which recognizes but one right, that of the ship's master to command.
Sounds like tyranny.
Ordinary seamen have no rights, Jeremy.
Just dumb brutes to be driven hither and yon at the decree of their masters. Is that it?
That about sums it up. Oh, I don't say it's right, Mr. Pitt, but it is the system in the merchant ships at present. Thank heavens it doesn't exist in the Navy.
Coffin's the break in this case. His word as a ship's officer, his testimony regarding the brutality aboard the Witch is enough to justify their taking the ship in the eyes of any court. Matt, you've got to help me now. You've got to help me find Coffin.
I told you I can't get mixed up in a federal matter. Come in.
This just came in, sir.
Thank you, Sergeant. They found the body of a murdered man in the bay. According to the papers found on the corpse, it looks like you're Mr. Coffin. Well, this changes everything. Now your mutiny is my business. Now it is local. At least until I find Mr. Coffin's murderer. Third Mate Coffin's funeral was small. Captain Stone and First Mate Cross, Jeremy Pitt and me. Captain Stone paid for the funeral.
Touching funeral, wasn't it?
Oh, very.
If I ever saw 2 slimy murderers gloating over their victim, it was just now.
And Captain Stone's eulogy. Henry Coffin was a good man, a brave man, and we, his dearest friends.
I know they're murderers. Can't make it stand up. Why would they kill one of their own fellow officers?
To shut him up. They knew if he ever testified, they'd hang for the foulest murders ever committed on the high seas. Too bad you can't prove it, though.
Matt, can you help? Is there anything you can do for those men?
I've got a hunch. That's all.
You mean one of those gamblers things?
Yeah. One of those gamblers things that makes you play out of hand.
All the grog you can drink and 20 pretty waiter girls. Count them, 20. Evening, Governor. Up, slum a bit. Right down here on the corner, Sydney Jack's. That's the place to go, sir.
I'm looking for a girl who works here. Calls herself Rosie.
That's right on the corner, sir, Sydney Jack's. Oh, beg your pardon, sir. Rosie, you say? Never heard of her.
Come on.
I'm new around here, sir. As for the girls, well, they comes and they goes. I pay 'em no mind, sir. I'm a respectable married man, I am.
I'm sure you are.
Evening, Mr. Wayne. Something on the house?
No, thanks.
What, might I ask, brings you here? Nothing official, I hope.
I'm looking for a girl who works here. Rosie.
Rosie? Oh, never had no Rosie here.
Oh, come off it, Jack. She was here the night I busted up the fight between the ship's officers from the Witch.
That Rosie? I haven't seen hide nor hair of her since that night.
You're lying, but why?
Lying? Me? Why? For what reason would I lie?
The Barbary Coast protects its own when it wants to. This time it wanted to. Nobody knew Rosie. I worked every dive in the district, but the word ran ahead of me. No one would talk about Rosie. I had to find someone I could buy. I'm looking for a girl named Rosie.
So you're looking for Rosie. You come a long way, Marshal, to get so far.
And it wasn't easy.
Look, no one's gonna talk about someone they like. We like Rosie.
Where is she?
How would I know?
She was staying here.
Sure. She left.
All right. Where did she go?
What do you want her for?
Never mind. Where is she?
Why don't you give the kid a break?
Come on, Sadie. Tell me where she is.
I said I don't know.
All right, I'm gonna have to arrest you and put you in jail on suspicion.
You won't hurt her, will you?
I only want to talk to her.
All right, she's gone uppity. She got herself married. It's funny what a man can do to a gal. He's a good man, though, and she's got a job and everything.
Where?
At the millinery shop on Montgomery Street. You're not going to arrest me.
No.
Don't hurt her, will you?
Sadie, when a girl gets a chance to lift herself into a better life, who am I to spoil it for her? Hello, Rosie.
Please, I haven't done anything.
Let's go where you're living.
How did you know?
I didn't. Not really. Rosie, you were one of the last people to see Coffin alive. When we found his body floating in the bay, I remember the night that I saw you with him. And I thought maybe you had been setting him up for the kill. I wanted to know if you had, and who employed you.
Look, I didn't know nothing about any killing. All I know is he come to me. He'd been in a fight. He was sick. And he was scared. I took care of him. It's funny what taking care of somebody does to you. It makes you different. I can't turn him in, Marshal. I won't.
Rosie, I promise you no harm will come to him.
Well, how can I believe you?
You've got to. The lives of 14 men depend on what you do right now. Listen, you can have the peace and respectability that you want, but you're going to have to earn it.
All right.
You realize this is a federal matter, Mr. Wayne? You have no business...
Murder in San Francisco is my business, sir. Any interest I have in the mutiny is incidental to the matter of a murdered man found in the bay. And the fact that he was an officer on board the Witch might throw a little light on the mutiny.
Yes, I suppose you're right. No, good morning, Captain Stone.
Morning,
Mr.
sir.
Cross.
Morning, sir.
This meeting is Mr. Wayne's idea, gentlemen. Are you ready to proceed, Mr. Wayne?
No, sir, I'm not.
Sir?
I asked that all the officers off the Witch be present. Where's Mr. Sorby?
Sorby?
Yes, your second mate. You do have a second mate, don't you?
Why, Mr. Sorby left ship, sir.
When?
When? When did he leave, sir?
Well, I don't know.
You don't know, but you had to sign his papers, didn't you?
Well, yes, I did, but...
What Captain means, sir, is that Sorby jumped ship.
Yeah, that's right. He jumped ship.
Jumped ship? When?
What? Captain Farragut, what's the meaning of this?
We want answers, Captain Stone.
Well, I refuse.
Perhaps I can supply the answers for you, Captain. You haven't seen Mr. Sorby since the night you sent him to get rid of Henry Coffin, your third mate.
That's a lie.
Is it? Come in.
You? We buried you.
Not me, Captain. You buried Sorby. It was Sorby went in the bay, not me.
But your papers, they were on the body.
Aye, sir. I put them there. Mr. Sorby was out to kill me. We fought in the docks. Went over the side together. He hit a stringer with his head on the fall. No one would have ever recognized him. When I saw he was dead, I traded papers with him. That's how my papers got in his body.
Well, why did you do that?
I didn't want to testify at the mutiny trial, sir.
In the name of all that's eternal, man, why not?
Sir, I've been a seaman all my life. Never got to be more than third mate. Never would have got to be more than that. Never would have got another berth if it came out I encouraged a crew to mutiny. No matter how right I was, I would have never sailed again.
Mr. Coffin, tell me one thing. Would you step forward to testify to save these men from the rope?
Mr. Pitt, I won't know the answer to that till the day of the trial. It's all right, Rosie. The verdict was not guilty.
Well, I don't know. All right, men, all right. You're free. Go on home. Go on.
Nice work. For a jackleg lawyer.
What do you mean, jackleg lawyer? I made one of the finest speeches ever heard in that courtroom.
Sure, but your case wouldn't have gotten anywhere without Coffin's testimony.
Gentlemen, you're witnessing the end of an era. This case has set a precedent. It'll establish the rights of seamen. Put an end to brutalities like that. You're to be congratulated.
Thank you, sir.
Both of you.
Thank you, sir.
California. Oh, I've traveled here, I've traveled there. I guess I've been most everywhere. But I like where I am today, and here is where I'll stay. Now, one thing I just can't endure is being broke and being poor. So I come west to take the cure, and here is where I'll stay. I've come to California, California. There's gold in them there hills in California. I've come to live where life is best, in the Golden West. I'm gonna strike it rich in California.